BPod Studios.
It's half what you're used to.
It's true. This is absolutely true.
Half Hardy.
What had happened was...
And a whole lot of Boston sports.
It's unbelievable.
Toucher and Hardy. Mornings, the Sports Hub. If you've ever asked yourself the question, what are the odds? Here we go.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Tangiers Hotel proudly presents
The Bankroll Bunch.
with the Sasha Semenoff Orchestra
Dan Lifshatz, Kendra Middleton.
and the Sound Rock Dean Dancers.
The Bankroll Bunch with Dan Lifshatz and Kendra Middleton.
Hey, this hour of Toucher and Hardy, not featuring Hardy, but featuring Danny Roche, is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Make every moment more with FanDuel. The Bankroll Bunch is brought to you by DraftKings Sportsbook. Now, Dan, you keep getting all excited about this soccer thing. You're visibly, you make an audible noise, even when you're not on microphone.
Watched the game last night.
What game?
The Revs opened up their season, basically.
Okay, so like if you
on a
happen,
CONCACAF game.
where was that game being
Panama.
televised?
Where was it being televised? Oh, I don't even know. Oh, it was Tubi. It was Tubi.
Oh,
I did not
for
watch
free.
it legally.
Easy to spot, easy to find.
Oh, so it was on Tubi.
Yes.
Okay, I get it. Yeah.
Well, if you're on social media, you just click on the Tubi. It was a free game, so it was easy.
So you're just on
thank God.
social media,
Yeah.
you follow Tubi,
Yeah.
and you just click on that. It's
Bingo.
as simple as that. I mean, they're playing with the big boys. I mean, I'll tell you what. So they were on Tubi, but it was free.
Yeah.
But if you followed Tubi.
And they had a kid broadcasting the game. It sounded like he was in his basement in some house. It didn't sound like he was at the game. And he just kept saying over and over again, Tomas Shankalai.
You don't think they flew him to Panama?
You know what I mean?
You think that they saved the airfare to Panama?
We didn't spend the money to send
Didn't
this kid
seem
to
like it.
Panama?
No, maybe halfway. I don't know. But it didn't
Now-
sound like he was there.
Now, what is Tubi television? Because
I don't know.
Pluto TV is very exciting because it has a Growing Pains channel.
Okay.
No. Not Growing Pains. With the one with Michael J. Fox.
Family Ties.
Family Ties channel. They have a Happy Days channel, but sometimes they play Laverne and Shirley.
Okay.
They have a Three's Company channel.
All right.
It's very exciting, and it comes with the TV apparently, but I don't know if this Tubi. And you watched it? Was it at the? Was it
I was at
your
work.
Okay, and you were glued to it.
I had it on. It was good. It was fun. Good to see the Revs. I think Caleb
Yeah.
Porter, their new coach, is going to be good for them. And
Yeah.
It was nice. The goal was a beautiful, they call it a flick, a header over from Giacomo Vrioni to Tomas Shankalai.
Did it seem like almost someone who played at any of the multiple higher levels of soccer could have done the same thing?
Yeah.
Okay, good. I'd just like to put that in
It's pretty.
perspective.
Sorry, Fred. Sorry for being excited about soccer season returning in all sports. Besides, the Patriots. We got to talk everything.
Oh, we do.
Get
though.
out and branch
we have
out a little bit.
We have to talk about the Patriots. All right, so Danny, you have a question for Dan Lifshatz and Kendra Middleton.
We can save it.
No.
You
teased it. We're going to
teased
lead
it.
with this.
No, I was watching the golf tournament last week. Tigers, out in Riviera, and I was just curious: are there any bets in Vegas as to whether or not Tiger will win another golf tournament in a year, 2 years, 3 years? Can you bet that
Ever?
And what do you think the answer is?
So that's not a Vegas bet. Like, to be honest, and this will probably surprise people, Vegas has very limited betting options. Like, they have significantly less than what you'll find in like online or an offshore book. So that's like something you can find at offshore and get some sort of silly odds about that. But yeah, I'm sure you could probably find that bet somewhere.
That's all.
And I'm sure it's a very, very high number for them to win.
Does your Epstein book have the Tiger special?
I don't think it does. I have not looked recently. I've not been trying to place a wager on Tiger to win, but I would say probably not.
Now, Dan Roche, Dan Lifshatz is limited with the big online bookmakers. They cap what he can do. He's too good at it.
It's not. I mean, it's
because you're too good.
It's
fleecing them.
It's not that uncommon. Like, it's if you're pretty good at something, that happens. Like, especially at specific books, they clearly tell you up front they want recreational players. That's what they want. That's all they want. They don't want other types of players. So if you show anything other than some recreational action, they will limit you.
Well, I'll ask you this: is Joe Murray banned by the?
I don't think Joe uses those books. I think he
uses his bookie.
Yeah, I think so.
So do they notify you? Tell you you're banned?
When you try and place a wager for
You go
a
like,
specific
"Oh,
dollar
this is-
amount,
this
it
is
will
Bill?"
it will say like it will say you can only bet a certain amount. So,
Really?
Yeah.
So he still uses Mr. Pickles?
I believe so.
Have you talked to Mr. Pickles just recently?
I do not know. You know more than I do.
I do know
not-
who Mr. Pickles is.
I do not know.
He's
who
not
he
an
is.
intimidating man.
I do not know who he is.
All right.
How do you know this person?
Because of Joe let the cat out of the bag. He told me who it was, and it was someone who I kind of knew.
Oh, wow. Oh.
I do not know who it is.
You know why they
I've
call him
not
Mr.
asked.
Pickles?
No, I don't.
He smells like dill. That's all. You thought it was going to be a penis thing, and it wasn't. All right. Hey, what is going on with baseball with the Red Sox? Or should we all be taking the unders here? What should we be doing?
What's the over-under?
Opened 80.5. It's sitting anywhere from like 80.5 to 78.5 now. It's kind of a little bit all over the place.
I talked about it the second it came out on our show because I think they came out on Thursday or Friday, and we have a Saturday show. I took the under the minute it came out. I know that the schedule's changed a bit this year, so they're not playing the Yankees as often, the Orioles as often, et cetera, et cetera. But I'm just not high on this team. It doesn't feel like the players are high on this team. It feels like Alex Cora wants to get out of here. It doesn't feel like they have a reason to get up or a want to get up. So until anything changes, I'm happy rocking with that under.
Yeah, I mean they're probably pretty similar to last year around that number. So I mean it's not a wager that I've personally placed, but I can see why people, especially around here, are so eager. I think they'll probably have similar pitching staff that isn't very good, and a decent lineup that wins them some games. They'll probably score 5 to 7 runs a game, hopefully, and they'll win 78 to 80 games, 75 to 80 games, and they'll be mediocre. And luckily, because they don't play the division, a million games this year, they might win a few more because the AL Central is pretty bad and the bottom of the AL West is pretty bad too.
Do you see? Is this the earliest you've heard a team express frustration in a season? Or can you recall other times, either of you?
I can't remember anything. This is by far the most frustrating. I think it's because they're the Boston Red Sox and they're operating like the Pittsburgh Pirates, and it's very frustrating for the players who want to win on that team, and there's certainly guys who care about it, and for whatever reason, ownership just does not care at all.
Yeah, I think Dan makes a good point in that I'm sure that it has happened in some of these smaller market teams where they, maybe missed out on somebody last minute or thought that you were going to sign somebody that you weren't supposed to get or whatever. But there's such a national global spotlight on the Boston Red Sox and the entire Fenway Sports Group, so I think that that's the reason locally we're hearing about it, but also it's gotten picked up nationally, so we're hearing about it twice. I think that that's just kind of the big thing that's looming over this Red Sox season.
What's the Dodgers?
Oh,
over-under?
God.
So is it
Win
100
total?
Yeah, it's got to be
I
close.
think it's
Not-
103.5.
Yeah.
That's very reasonable, Danny. You got to ride that over.
yeah.
I mean, they can't not get
103.5.
If I had to pick what's going to happen to the Dodgers right now, I would say they're going to have a monster regular season and choke in the post.
So normal.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think it's going to... That would be typical Dodgers, typical LA. They're going to overspend, have all these faces. They're going to make a real go for it, and then they're absolutely just going to choke.
Their win total last year was 96.5. And then now it's jumped up 7 games. I mean, that feels like a large jump to me. I just think it's probably too high to play the over at 103.5.
That seems very, very high. All right, it doesn't matter the team. It just seems high. What is this the time to bet futures in baseball? And since it's getting started right now, what do you guys like? Is there anything that you guys have particularly bet on?
I kind of like to see how the beginning of spring training goes, kind of get a feel for how players feel about teams, maybe, how the staff feels about things, just kind of the general buzz before I like to bet futures. I like to get them done before the regular season starts, obviously, because that's when you're going to get the best value. But I like to get through at least the first couple of weeks of everything getting going.
So I think it depends on what you're betting. If you're betting win totals, you got to start betting them now. You got to start projecting where some of these guys are unfortunately going to sign, which is really, really difficult. If you're betting player futures, I would argue the best time to bet them is in the middle of, late May, early June, maybe sometimes middle of June. I mean, for instance, I got Blake Snell 100 to 1 to win the NL Cy Young last year, like in the middle of June. Like that, you're going to find guys who are performing very well that there hasn't been a ton of media, positivity, spotlight on, in the middle of the season. And I think you'll probably get the better value for players in the middle of the season. I tend not to place a lot of, player futures before the year or very small wagers. But win totals, yeah, you got to place them now. I mean, I've placed Unfortunately, this is probably going to be a lower year for me for win totals because there's so many guys who are unsigned. Like it's hard to predict everything that's going to happen. I have a couple wagers, but nothing like one really big one. But outside of that, I mean, it's a tough year, man. It really is. Like last year, I had like 15, and this year I have 3, I think, so far.
What's really big?
4. What? Padres over.
Really?
Padres over. Padres, despite the loss of Soto. I like that.
Yeah, again, there's
They
still
have a 17-year-old catcher in spring training. Did you see that?
Salas.
I did see that.
Yeah, kids keep playing.
Oh,
I like
that's insane.
Soto to win the MVP.
That's not bad. I also think it's getting
Riverside.
harder just because sports gambling is becoming legal in so many places that they're getting a lot better with their numbers that are coming out on the books and stuff like that. I think that gambling in general is just getting a lot harder than it used to be. I look at Dan and I talked about the Super Bowl, props this year. I think the NFL got a lot sharper like before the middle of the season this year. I think it's just getting harder because it's becoming so widely available.
All right, Kendra, you said that you had some strong feelings on college basketball as we head into the conference tournaments and things.
Yeah, I've got a couple futures. I don't know if you want to talk college basketball now or...
No, go ahead.
Okay, I have Purdue to win, to cover 15.5 tonight. They lost to Ohio State earlier this week, I believe. I guess Saturday counts as this week. But I just think... I don't know why I didn't get this out publicly on our show. I'm so high on writing teams that just lost their coaches or had a coach fired or what have you, but I didn't write Ohio State. They upset Purdue. I like them to bounce back tonight and cover 15.5 against Rutgers. Rutgers is not a good team against the spread. I think they're one of the worst teams in offenses in all of college basketball. I think that you should ride Purdue and you should ride them super heavy tonight. So I've got Purdue and I've got Washington State to cover, I think, 12.5 against Arizona. That game's a big game tonight out west. It'll be late. I'm going to stay up for it. I think it's a good spot for Washington to cover just because they're one of the better teams in that conference. But, yeah, those are my big 2 college basketball plays tonight. The future that I'm going to give out, I know that this is a DraftKings sponsored show, but I'm looking at FanDuel for this.
Yay.
UConn currently plus money to make the Final Four on FanDuel. I think that they're one of those teams that obviously they are an experienced team right now. They did it last year. They retained a lot of those guys. I like UConn to make a Final Four. And then I also am putting some money on Houston to make a Final Four. It's plus 180. I think that they're a really good defensive team, super athletic team. I think that they have a real shot at like decent odds of making a Final Four. So that's a little bit of a longer shot for me. But since UConn's plus money, I'm gonna ride that as well.
All right. And Dan, anything you particularly want to leave the people with?
For college basketball tonight, Minnesota, who is 22-3 against the spread now after winning the other day.
Wow.
They are facing Ohio State, who is coming off that win against Purdue. I do like Minnesota today at home, minus 3.5. That is a bet that I wagered, that I placed last night. And then I am going to disagree with Kendra. I like Arizona. I think they are going to crush Washington State tonight. It's a bad spot for Washington State. Late game in Arizona. This is kind of a monster game for Arizona. They've won a couple, but they really haven't looked great. And
They're on a 6-game win streak.
They are fighting for a top seed right now. They're going to be in that fight there. So they're playing, essentially. If they blow out Washington State tonight, would be a huge quad-one win for them and probably look very good on a resume towards being either a top-end 2 seed or potentially a 1 seed if a couple of these guys continue to fall, a la Purdue to Ohio State, et cetera, et cetera. So
you look at the previous meeting, Washington State won at home against them.
And a bingo, and that was the other part of that is somewhat of a revenge game for them in this spot because they did lose, and they were favored, I think, pretty heavily in that game. I think they were like 7 or 8 point favorites in that game and still ended up losing that one.
You know what I bet's going to be at that game, Fred?
Who?
Tito.
Excellent. All right. that is Danny Roche wrapping the whole thing up.
I brought something.
You did, baby. You brought your sweet golf bet idea, and then you said Tito Francona used to go to the bathroom in front of you when you were interviewing him at the ballpark. The Bankroll Bunch. Listen to Kendra Middleton and Dan Lifshatz Saturday mornings from 7 to 9 right here on this very radio station. And you can see Dan Lifshatz. He does the Over Under 98.5 podcast with his friend Joe Murray, and that's available at 985thesportshub.com and all the other places. And Kendra, where can people find you?
Kendra Middleton everywhere, but Twitter, I'm still going to call it that. It's Kenny with an I, Middleton.
All right. All of that is available for you and yours, Dan, when we get back. We played something yesterday. I want to see if you can figure out what the gentleman is doing.
Okay.
All right. It's just going to be you. I want to know your brain, what the gentleman is doing. Okay? All right. We will be back in just a moment.
BackstageCountry.com, your online home for all things country music. Award-winning movies often have incredible soundtracks, and many of those have gone on to become country gold. We've picked our top 5 country songs that have been nominated for an Oscar. Text Oscar to 45911 to see if your favorite made the list on BackstageCountry.com. Text Oscar to 45911 and we'll send the link straight to your phone.
Twitch feed of this is going to be used all around the internet.
Get up.
The cat is finally out of the bag.
Get up.
We're back. Toucher and Hardy.
Get up.
98.5 The Sports Hub.
But you are, buddy. But you are.
Good to see you, Freddie.
It's good to see you,
You too,
Danny
John.
Roche. I'll tell you
Dan,
this.
Ryan,
You know, one thing is
Kyle,
that,
same thing.
you know,
Sorry, Kyle.
like bad things that you're not supposed to do are like drugs, like drinking too much, smoking. These are like the bad things that you're not supposed to do. Have you ever had a doctor tell you to stop doing something that's not necessarily that you've never in your life heard was bad? I'm not. This isn't a long way to go to a joke. It's like a doctor like say like, you might want to slow down on da 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 da. Not like sweets or anything. Like just literally something you're like that's. There's something that you can have. You can have too much of this.
Yes.
You have had that.
I have had that.
What was it?
It was vitamin D, and I found that to be the most bizarre thing. I was apparently taking too much vitamin D.
Okay, because
this is a while ago, but it's interesting you bring that up because that stands out of my mind. I mean, on what planet is vitamin D bad?
So
and it was very strange.
I love these almonds, these soy wasabi almonds. Like I enjoy them, and I don't eat like a ton of them. I don't eat I probably eat a serving and a half a day, and they're not like super bad for you. Like say it's 300 calories in nuts, right? But apparently, I'm eating too many of them, and that they can cause great problems for me. That there is a limit to the amount of nuts a man should eat.
Really?
Yes, or you get that
diverticulitis. The show had a big problem with
I heard
that.
that's awful.
Yeah.
Yes, it was.
But no one ever tells you when you're growing up,
Right.
Hey, lay off the nuts, guys.
Right.
So here's my attitude is that like if something's negatively affecting your life and it's hurting you, then you should not do it. And smoking and dying of emphysema and getting emphysema is a very, very horrible way to go. Drugs and alcohol, if you abuse them, it destroys your life while you're living. But this total, like you see it on YouTube and stuff, these guys that have like I've hacked like the aging process. It's like, all right, but you're gonna die. I mean, like you're trying to,
Right. When it's your time, it's your time.
You're racing something that's going to happen, and I think that that it's a healthy kind of attitude to have. That.
And your doctor told you this?
Yeah, like too much almonds, but the almonds won't kill me. They could make me very sick.
Yeah.
And so
I've never heard that though.
I know, and it's not just me.
Why are you yelling at me?
I'm yelling at life.
Oh, okay.
I'm looking at you, but yelling at life.
I got a little scared for a second.
I get that happen. That happens to me a lot.
Daniel,
happens to me every
Daniel,
day.
will you listen to me and look at me?
No, not now.
Daniel, get a telescope and look up there. Daniel. Because what happens is the nuts embed themselves. You break them down and they embed themselves in your digestive tract.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And then it can cause all kinds of problems.
Wow.
So I mean but you can eat too many nuts now?
Apparently.
Because if they were
hadn't heard
like
of
you would live 6 months less, your life would be 6 months less if you ate nuts. I would just be like, all right, fine. Then I will live 6 months less. Mm-hmm. In the perfect world that I die the way you think I'm going to die. But if they're like, oh, by the way, you're going to have these terrible like stomach problems. Well,
Yes.
now I can't do it.
Yeah.
I don't like it.
It sucks. That's true. We've seen it happen.
Yeah.
We've seen it happen.
Oh, no, and this is another one. Daniel, go ahead.
Freddie Ball game. It's not just the nuts, the almonds. It's actually the type of nut you're eating, too. So soy, wasabi. Soy causes the isoflavones to bind to the estrogen receptors in men. That causes man boobs.
What if I take the testosterone? Would that override the estrogen?
You need an anti-estrogen receptor product.
I might have to get an anti-estrogen because I can't be walking around with these knockers much longer. I got to tell you that.
I love the wasabi too. It's good.
Oh,
stuff.
the wasabi, the soy
Very-
wasabi.
wasabi flavor.
I mean, they're like a slice of heaven.
It
might be my favorite thing.
It's a great thing to get it in that nice tin there. You
can get it in a tin. You can get it in a bag. You can get it any way you want it, buddy.
The tear-off bag with the resealable. Oh yeah,
you can get it any which way loose.
That's right.
All right, we played this yesterday. I'm not going to revisit it. I'm not going to talk a lot about it. But I want to get Dan Roche's. I just want you to be able to guess what's going on in this clip. This is from Houston News, like the real.
Is this going to make me uncomfortable again?
No, it shouldn't. I just want to know.
John just said yeah.
Wait, no, it's shut up, John. No, it's not. This is not meant to make you uncomfortable. I just think that you have such a pure mind. I want you to. It's from like WBZ News in Houston, right? Like it's an affiliate of a network. I just want you to hear the story and just tell me what you think the guy is doing because they never come right out and say it.
New at 10, a man is seen placing store items underneath his kilt and then putting them back on the shelf. This is a really bizarre incident. It all happened at a well-known antique shop.
Caroline, you can't make this up, but the man is seen from 3 different angles, placing antiques where the sun don't shine. The shop manager says this is a deal that no one wants to find.
Thursday, February 8th was a normal day at this spring antique store until cameras caught the moment a customer in a kilt took a liking to certain items on the shelf.
I had to watch it a couple of times just to be sure that I knew what I was looking at. I've seen quite a few different things here, but not that.
Golden received a call from a dealer who sent her surveillance video of their section. Cameras show a man in a tank top and kilt grab a kitchen fork or spoon from a display. He then walks over to the other side. His hand stays behind him for a while. He's then seen placing the item back on the shelf.
I realized when he put them back that he wasn't trying to steal them. He was doing other things with them.
What was he doing with them, Dan?
Scratching his back?
All right, so he was sticking them up. By the way, I could help you with this. The term kilt is used very loosely. This is a leather, not so much of, it's not feminine at all, but it is very leather. And this man is a muscular man wearing a tank top, shaved head, goatee, leather kilt. Let's call it a leather kilt. This is a man who could mean business if need be. But I emphasize leather. He's a leather guy. What do you think he's doing?
You know.
What, Dan?
Right, taking his temperature.
So you think he's doing what with the
I'm not going to come out and say it, Fred. I'm sweating.
What do you think the guy in the tank top in the leather?
Come on.
Well, I didn't know.
I can't believe they did that story.
Well, I can't believe the woman from the store allowed it to go on the air.
Yeah, everybody. Like, what are we doing here?
No, I understand why the news did the story.
I don't.
Yeah, yes, you do.
That would never be on WBZ. Guaranteed.
Oh, yeah. You're too above it.
Yeah. Or
Houston's
below
bigger,
it, as they say.
Is Houston a bigger television market than Boston? It's a bigger radio market.
Think so. I don't know because they changed the whole demos and the.
But you know what he's doing? He's putting them in himself.
Why?
It's obviously some kind of kink.
Yeah.
Did you ever have that happen?
No. TJ Maxx. No.
TJ Maxx. Here's Dan. Hi, it's Dan for TJ Maxx. Never have one of these items been keistered. I've been keeping an eye on this place since it opened.
See, I told you this wouldn't make you feel uncomfortable.
No, not at all.
You're fine.
But it's funny, they make the guy seem like this Scottish brig. Like, I'm Scottish and I'm coming into the store and No, it's not. It's not like that. This is a man very into the leather scene. This is a man that you would know the deal pretty much right away when you saw him, but based on the way that he's dressed and his facial hair and his build. And if he is 60, he's a very muscular 60.
Yeah, he's in very good shape.
Yeah, like this is.
Uh,
So did the store? Did the store call?
Well, I can
the,
finish
the
it.
news.
Here we go.
People.
There's 43 seconds left. Would you like to hear it?
Maybe.
Well, it's on the news. All right, there. I don't want to hurt your fragile.
You're not going to hurt my fragile feelings, Fred. Come on.
Dude, I'm a shock jock. This don't even faze me.
In another section, a closer look. He grabs another item, shoves it underneath the kilt, and puts it back. The merchandise is valued at around $200.
They were put back in the space that he got them. There was no obvious markings.
It was reported to police. Golden found out the man's been spotted in other antique stores in Galveston and Tomball. She shared his photos throughout the area.
He needs to be caught and stopped.
Well, Golden says the items that the man was seen tampering with have been removed and all areas of the store have been sanitized. The Harris County Sheriff's Office says if anyone spots this man doing something like this in a public place, to contact them.
All right, I have a serious answer to this. The man had been taken into custody. I won't go so far as to arrested. He was taken into custody. How much did it take him to leave? How much did he spend out of his pocket to leave the situation that he was in, the arrest situation?
I don't know. $5,000?
$100.
Yeah. Oh, really?
Yes. There's nothing they can do to him.
Yeah.
There's nothing they can do to him.
There was just paying $100 to make sure he got out of the store. That's all that was. Just
Wow.
We need to get him out of the store and give him like an hour to settle down.
No, I don't think they had him for an hour. I'm not even sure they were able to put him into any kind of custody. I think
just
that
put him in the back of the car.
No, they didn't catch him at that store. If you'll recall, what Ryan said is that they found him somewhere else. Mm-hmm. He matched the description. He voluntarily went to the police station. I don't think they booked him or anything. And he paid $100, and now he's gone. What were they going to do to him? They show it on the tape. I mean, you can't. I mean, what did he do? I mean, seriously, it's not. They didn't charge him with vandalism. They charged him with one count of criminal mischief.
Yeah, it's not even destruction of property.
No,
it's not even that.
No, and you don't know what he did unless you have a camera, an upskirt, an upskirt camera. What? Unless you have an upskirt, you need one. Then you wouldn't know what he was doing. So there you have it, Danny. Mm-hmm. What was he doing with those antiques?
I don't know.
If you had to guess.
John?
No, he asked you.
John knows.
I know because I was here yesterday.
Yeah. You think he was putting him in behind him, not in front.
Right.
What do you think he was doing?
Okay. Just what you said.
What did I say?
He's putting it behind him, not in front.
You think he was just holding him behind his back?
Yes.
You don't think they went inside of him?
Mm-mm. We'll be right back. Time for headlines. Here's Wallach.
Oh, Danny boy.
Only 6 more hours with us, Dan.
6.5, really.
6.5,
Plus,
really.
he's got to do a whole post-show thing.
I know.
And then we just look at hustlers. All right, here are the headlines.
BackstageCountry.com, your online home for all things country music. Lainey Wilson is on a roll. She's delivering great music and teaming up with some of country's hottest acts. Text Lainey to 45911 to see which 4 Lainey Wilson collabs have us talking at BackstageCountry.com. Text Lainey to 45911 to get a link to the list sent right to your phone from BackstageCountry.com.
Half toucher.
Dressed like a gorilla.
Half Hardy.
A big, beautiful ball of flame.
And a whole lot of Boston sports.
And I have had many offers to become an insider. This hour of Toucher and Hardy is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Make every moment more with FanDuel. Danny Roche is in studio. Matt Barnes,
the hoop player.
Yeah, the ex-hoop player. Well, I guess he was doing pre and post game work for 3 years for the Sacramento Kings. Not, I guess, the greatest job in the world, but it is a job. And he has a kid that plays high school basketball in California, and he went out to one of his games, and the game was being broadcasted. Strangely enough, some of these teams have kids broadcasting the games, not Bryant University. They bring John in.
ESPN Plus, Fred.
Yeah. And what they said is that Barnes was in his third season, and the reason they got rid of him is that the former NBA player appeared to berate the student broadcaster during his son's high school basketball game while attending the matchup between Harvard Westlake Wolverines and Crespi Carmelite Celts. Earlier this month, video surfaced to Barnes with his hand on the shoulder of a student who was later identified by the Los Angeles Times as Jake Lancer. According to Lancer, he informed the audience of a delay because Barnes was berating the refs. The former NBA player approached the broadcast table and threatened to slap the S out of him. Barnes later appeared on the Denim Led Batard show with Stu Gaz.
Yes.
And acknowledged yelling at the refs during the game, but alleged Lancer told me to sit my ass down. I was just like, why do you feel comfortable to be able to tell a grown man to sit his ass down? So he had a little back and forth. So he and I had a little back and forth, and obviously admitting my faults to even touch him was wrong of me. All right. It doesn't. They have the broadcast, wouldn't you know, online. And so here is the kid at first. This is before Barnes comes to the table. This is him describing what's going on the court.
Matt Barnes now is out onto the floor, or not on the floor, he's right on the side of the floor, just screaming urine expletive. Oh my God. That's ridiculous. He's out onto the floor right now, and just no one's doing anything about it. I get he's an NBA player, but I mean, at a certain point, like, well, what? I mean, I don't. Let me tell you, the original call might have been a little weak, but that should have been technical. No, I think both. I heard what Barnes said to the ref. His son, number 20, Carter said to the ref. I don't blame the official for teeing him up. I can't repeat that on the broadcast. So unclear whether or not Coach Fisher also got a technical. It's tough to focus because Matt Barnes keeps screaming expletives.
All right, so Matt Barnes is on the court and he's screaming at everybody.
And he's huge.
Meanwhile, this kid from the other team is taking more technical foul shots than I've ever seen in my entire life. I thought it would end at 3, and then it just keeps going. He's taking numerous technical foul shots, and he's making them all. But he's just sitting there taking them while Barnes is going ballistic. Now, you have to have a severe mental problem. Because my son plays high school basketball. Your daughter played college sports. The idea of during a high school basketball game, putting yourself on the court, and first of all, in Newton, I got in trouble for saying things under my breath when I coached. I don't know,
right?
And then I don't know what I got a warning for, but I got a warning for something. Dan, I sit during the game. Yep. I don't stand up, and I'm certainly not telling them what to do, as I have one practice a week with the girls, and I really don't care if we win or not. Newsflash.
Right.
And I have been reprimanded for my behavior where I didn't even know what I was doing wrong. To get up during a high school game, my son plays high school, varsity high school. For me to stand up during a game and start yelling at the officials, you have a mental problem. Correct? Have you ever even seen that?
No, I mean, not to that extent. No, you hear people yelling from the stands.
There's people
parents,
yelling
right?
from the stands that are parents,
but not to get up and walk out there.
And I understand the yelling from the stands. Even I get it. And you understand sometimes when it happens. I've never heard anyone mother F or this or that. I've heard people riding officials, and then the officials in these high school games, because they're small gyms, will talk back, and all that happens. And it's usually fine. And I'm not saying that I can't even see saying oh, that's not a foul or something like that.
Right.
Now, don't do that in Newton girls athletics. If you say that's not a foul, they shoot you. They take off a finger for everyone. It's a little thing that they do. The rules are very, very tight. But to get on the floor, first of all, your poor kid has got to sit there and listen to that. And now Barnes says that he claims that the kid told him to sit his ass down, but there also happens to be audio of when Barnes came over to the kid.
Oh, good. All right.
And here's what happened.
All right, we're back. Matt Barnes kind of came up and just put his hands on me, actually. So, I mean, I'm all good, but it's kind of, I don't know. The security's out on the floor, so I don't know. They're stopping the game. I think we're going to take a break.
Yeah, so there's no evidence that the kid said anything to him. And by the way, when the kid is saying all this, the
kid sounds scared.
Oh, of course he's scared.
He's a 6'7" former athlete,
and he's famous, and he's mad at the kid, and he's acting crazy. Of course, the kid's nervous, but they're showing this, and Barnes is seems to be negotiating, they're trying to get him out of the game, and he seems to be trying to negotiate, which is the scariest part of all of this, because everyone has lost their temper, everyone has done something that they ultimately are ashamed of, but myself, believe me, myself included, in stuff with my kids around that I was and it's still I'm why'd I do that? But I can tell you this: that the moment you realize, oh boy, I'm right, someone's coming over to talk to me.
Good Lord,
you gotta just go. Okay,
I'm out of here.
Let's just end the pain now, and I'll be seeing you like that. Now it's time to go. The idea that he's sitting there and his wife or girlfriend or something is next to him, screaming and yelling, just
God.
Is she screaming and yelling at him?
It's just, don't,
being
the lady
listen
there.
Listen to my guy. He's absolutely right for wandering out on the floor
she's just carrying on. Yeah. And but Barnes is trying to negotiate to the people. And it's dude, you're at your kid's game. You got a little out of control, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, it's fine. You probably shouldn't put your hand on the kid, but say he just put his hand on the kid in just on his shoulder. You probably shouldn't have done it, but whatever. But the thing that struck me the worst is that it's become a scene. Security is now on the court because of him. Yep. And he's flabbergasted he'd be asked to leave. As soon as the security comes on the court, they stop your son's game, and they go, we need you to leave to continue this game. You would think the first thing you would do is go, oh, my.
Yeah, I know.
In this world, he somehow is processing this as normal in some way, shape, or form.
And walk over or that he's a victim, or that he's a victim in this. You got to go, all right, it's my kid, it's a game. Oh, boy. Yep, oh, boy, this became a lot more serious. Because I'm sure he didn't go to the game going, you know what, I'm going to get kicked out today.
Some bells has to go off in your head where you say, okay, there's a line that I have crossed.
And the first instinct would be to walk over to the kid and apologize or get close to him.
I wouldn't do
I'm so sorry.
Dan, I wouldn't do anything.
Yeah,
I would just
get out of there.
Leave.
Yeah, you're right.
At the minute that they asked me to leave and I realized it had gotten to that point, I'd get the hell out of there.
It's embarrassing.
Now, if I was told in retrospect from the school that I'd handle everything afterwards. I'd leave. And then afterwards, if they were hey, the kid that was calling the games, you scared him, then I would ask permission if I could email him or talk to him on the phone and tell him that I was sorry. Then you make amends for all that stuff.
Have you ever been at any game where a parent has come out onto the floor for any reason?
I've been at AAU games, and I guarantee you have too.
Not AAU. I was going to say Newton, the league that you coach in. Boys, fourth grade. I had a parent come out on the floor twice. Once to yell at a ref. He didn't go all the way on the floor like Barnes did, but he took 2 steps forward while this 16-year-old kid is reffing our game. And then he was so into his son, he thought his son was going to be the next Michael Jordan. He actually
many at NAA have.
Yeah, I know. Right. He wandered out. I called timeout. He wandered out on the floor, stopped his kid on the way off the floor to me, and talked to him in the middle of the floor before the kid was able to make it.
I was at a game where a parent made his kid cry during the game.
Unbelievable.
And then, first of all, when they're younger, the parents are worse. And I've seen a fist fight at a game at I won't even say where, but the kids were young, and the coaches got into a fist fight, and one of them wasn't in the wrong. But No, the younger the kids, I think, the more like the crazy the parents.
I was at a youth hockey game and I saw someone get up on top of, like, you know how hockey, it's hard on the red board area and grab the glass up top and come and yell over at a referee at a youth hockey game, screaming at the ref in a youth hockey game.
You know, but the thing is, if you're a coach and you're coaching teenagers, you should be able to like at least challenge a ref's decision. There's like, I don't know. I mean, I'm surprised. What happened to the guy that went on the court at the NAA game? Did they shoot him?
He stayed there. He stayed on the sideline. Security, whatever security is in that building, no one went over to him.
Because I coached Milo's NAA.
I couldn't believe it.
I never had any issues in NAA at all. But the girls' sports, the level of paternalism that goes on with those is just ridiculous.
I can tell you that after our game that day was over, that guy got out of there quick with his kid. Something, and that goes back to the line. He had the second half to kind of process what he had done and got out of there quick because he, unlike Matt Barnes, understood, you know what, maybe I did something wrong
If you're being removed from a situation, even if you don't think it's right, chances are you should just go with the flow. You're not gonna convince anyone.
I've seen a parent get booted out of a college softball game. You know,
really?
In a tournament. He ended up going across the street and watching from across the street for the rest of the game.
Oh, I have a friend who had to put a disguise on to watch his kid play baseball. Yeah, he had to put a disguise on.
What, was it like a Bobby Valentine mustache?
It was exactly. I think he was kind of having fun with it. I don't think the charges were that serious.
Yeah,
I mean, it was Newton.
I've always been. I don't know how you guys are. I go as far away as I can from all the parents, and I sit and that's what I used to do. Is I would go get a chair, sit in the outfield, or if I was at a field hockey game, I'd go the opposite side of the stands, get a cup of coffee, and just sit there and watch by myself. I didn't want anything to do with the parents, and I loved all the parents, but during the game, it was just like, I was sitting there one time, and one parent yelled at my daughter, like on the same team, to start hustling. I kind of looked at her like, what are you doing? Knock it off. It's like
you didn't say anything
people are
back?
out of control. No, we just
didn't get up front and up close. Don't you talk about my daughter.
There was a guy in a high school baseball game in a conference tournament, a prep tournament, where some fan yelled at my son and told the pitcher, he said, just throw the fastball. He can't touch a fastball. Watch him hit. And we were all the other parents were like, who is this guy? He's from the other team. And the best part was my son, we talked about it afterwards. He had a 2-run base hit for a huge hit to help win the game. You know what I mean? And I'm like, wow, yeah. I yelled, and I don't usually say anything. I'm like, yeah, that kid can't hit a fastball, huh? I'm like, F you, buddy.
Way to make it about you, Dan.
Good for you, Dan.
You couldn't let your Dan.
I would have fought him, Fred.
Good for you, Dan.
No. What Dan should have done is sat there in proud silence and let his son get the moment, but Dan had to turn it about him.
Yeah.
Oh, my sperm made you. Look what my sperm did. I'm kidding. That had to feel very good. I'm not kidding.
Yeah, it was a great moment.
Yeah. There's that great joy of watching your kid play the baseball or the basketball.
And the saddest day is when it's over. Who
says it's ever going to be over?
Well,
yeah, you can always go to your daughter's field hockey games.
I do.
That's what I'm saying. His daughter is a player. His daughter coaches. He still goes.
Coach Roche.
If you don't think my son is going to be
a big leaguer,
a big league.
He's a lefty pitcher. You got a better odd than a lot of kids.
There's no other lefty pitchers. My kid. Oh no, I'm just kidding.
Are you a yeller? Do you say anything at all?
No, I don't. But you know what people do? They do recognize me.
Yeah.
His reputation does precede him.
My reputation precedes me. Honestly, let me ask you this question. Do you honestly think that I would be a yeller? You can be completely honest.
No, I know you. No.
Okay, you don't. Now, John knows me even better. Do you think that I'd be a yeller at a game?
Oh, no.
I don't say anything.
No. It's a different story when we're out of this place and this atmosphere.
I'm trying to entertain on this microphone.
Yeah,
I'm not, believe me. The last thing I want to do is embarrass
very, very reserved when you get him out of here.
I do not want to embarrass my kids, and I have embarrassed my kids, and I know it. But you guys out there probably have it once or twice too. But it is not my intention. I can assure you that. All right, we'll be right back.